Kenneth Deer is the secretary of the Mohawk Nation Office in Kahnawà. He is well known as one of the authors of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. The Truth and Reconciliation report and recommendations came out last week, and one of the recommendations was for Canada to implement the UN Declaration. We asked Kenneth for some comments on that.
Well, we are always hoping that the Canadian government or all states in the world would implement the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. It's their declaration. It's not our declaration. It's theirs about us. What's annoying is that the government keeps saying that it's an aspirational document and not binding. But we say otherwise. We think the rights that are in the Declaration are binding in other instruments, like the right to self-determination. So they should be able to implement the Declaration based on the obligations that they have in the covenants. Canada has been hostile, even though it gave lip service to endorsing the Declaration. But in reality, if you attend meetings at the UN, you will see how Canada is hostile to the term Indigenous peoples, and more than other countries. And other countries may feel the same way, and they hide behind Canada. But Canada has been one of the most aggressive countries against the rights of Indigenous peoples. I think it's the extreme right-wing sentiment in the Prime Minister's office. You know, the Prime Minister controls everything, and he sets the tone and the direction of the government. The previous Prime Minister, Paul Martin, was very accommodating to Indigenous people, and he gave instructions to Foreign Affairs to try to accommodate the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People as much as possible when it was a draft. And so Canada, while he was Prime Minister, the government of Foreign Affairs was more accommodating and also accepted concepts like collective rights and self-determination. And we're able to convince other governments that these are not threats. And so that's how we got the Declaration through, because Canada convinced other states that it's not a bad document. But then when the election happened, just before the vote, Canada changed its position 180 degrees and voted against the Declaration at the Human Rights Council in 2006 and again at the General Assembly in 2007 as the only country that voted against the Declaration twice.
We also asked Mr. Deer for comment on Canada's Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Bernard Valcourt, in relation to his recent behavior.
Really out of touch with Indigenous people. You know, he's probably arrogant, paternalistic person, and in no way should he be in charge of our lives. He's the old school kind of Minister of Indian Affairs that goes back to the 20s and 30s and the 1800s. You know, and he might have been comfortable back then. But in today's day and age, there should be no place for a man like Valcourt as being Minister of Aboriginal Affairs.